Hey guys, how's it going? This is Mitchell Ryan 21 checking in with season 2 of Sweep Up the Middle. This year it will be me coming to you live. Unfortunately, Jay Crane, he is too busy with multiple gigs in Lubbock as well as getting a master's degree at Texas Tech University. So props to him. Hopefully he can finish out and look to have him back in the future. But we're going to have guests throughout the year. We're going to have a bunch of content coming to you, and I'm super excited about. So yeah, let's jump into it. I know the big thing is that what I want to do this year is last year, it was pretty long, 35, 45 minutes. I'm looking to bring content to y'all in that 10 to 15 minute window so you can get in, get to know your information, and move on. So yeah, so let's jump in. And first thing I want to talk about is the preseason. And look, the preseason is I just think it's too long. When you start playing football in junior high and high school, I believe the max was we had 3 scrimmages. I mean, 2 scrimmages and then you're going into games. Hell, colleges don't even have any scrimmages or practices against, other people. They just go in and play. I understand people are trying to, it's 90-man squads right now and they're trying to get jobs. And I understand that you're trying to work for that. But that's what practice is for. I mean, let's be honest. Not a lot of rookies are coming right off the bat and playing, much less making the squads. So I would say focus on smaller preseasons, maybe 3 games max, maybe 4 if you want to do the Hall of Fame. But to me, just 4 is too much and 5 for 2 teams. I mean, look at the injuries. I just have them pulled up right here in front of me. You're looking at left tackle George Font being out for a while. Cameron Meredith out for the year, the receiver for the Bears. You have Anthony Hitchens for the Cowboys. If y'all watched the game last weekend, he's out for 8 to 10 weeks. Spencer Ware's out for the year, the starting running back for the Chiefs. Julian Edelman's out for the year with the torn ACL. You have Tannehill out for the year with the torn ACL, and that's how Jay Cutler got his job. Ryan Kelly's out for a significant amount of time, the center for the Colts. You also have various injuries on the Chargers, various injuries on the Ravens. Quincy Enunwa, that's what it is. He was the leading receiver for the Jets. He's out for the year. And another big thing, too, is Zeke suspension. So he's potentially out for 6 games right now. They have to go through the appeal. He might not miss any, but all that's up in the air. And I bring that back around to this. With so many injuries going on and the suspension, you should always hold your fantasy draft at the end of the preseason. The last round of games is about 25% of the league is going on August 31st. So you should look to have your fantasy draft from September 1st to September 6th. That is the perfect range right there. All the games are done. Yes, Labor Day is kind of making it hard, but all the preseason games are done, so you know who's going to be injured, you know what all you're looking at, and you basically can do your draft and then just get ready for the season. Because here's what we're looking at now. People are drafting Julian Edelman, mid-rounds, and people are drafting these other players mid-rounds, and now you just lost that draft pick. You lost that that compensation to that draft pick. And I get that some people have traditions and it's hard to get together, but the fact of the matter is if you want to win your league and you care about your league, you need to do what's best for the league in general. And to give everybody a fair chance, you should have your draft as late as possible while the preseason wraps up, so you know who's going where, any suspensions, injuries, so on and so forth. So, and one thing too with the preseason, me going back to this being so long, I mean, we have the Houston Floods right now, and the Rangers are hosting the Astros over the last couple days, and they're going to have their series in Florida, and then you have the Texans practicing at the Star. Like, we should not be focusing on a meaningless preseason game that's going to happen on Thursday between the Texans and the Cowboys, and we should be more focused on people in Houston that are struggling to survive, that literally lost everything. Some people just lost their homes, their cars, their animals. I mean, we're talking about a preseason football, a meaningless football game. That's what I'm talking about, the stuff that just irritates me. And I think the big thing is we need to lower down the preseason games so these players aren't getting injured as much, and just focus on those younger players getting the opportunities through practice this year, through the practice squads. And I think down the road there will be a D-League, a developmental league going into the NFL. There's been unsuccessful attempts in the past. But the biggest thing here is, again, lowering that preseason risk and focusing on the bigger things right now, like the people in Houston. So prayers and thoughts going out to Houston. I wanted to open up with that first and foremost. But yeah, let's get into it. And what I'll be doing too is I will be adding content through the website at mitchellryan21.com. And that's where you'll be able to find my ranks through top to bottom. What I want to do here is, like I said, I want to keep them shorter. So I want to basically just go through your sleepers, your super sleepers, your busts, people to look out for. And then a big thing too is kind of how your draft should set up. I'm only going to go pertain to the PPR side of it because that is what more people are focusing on now. It's more points. Obviously, just a little more fun with PPR. And we do a 12-man league. I recommend 12-man because it takes more than just drafting your team in a 10-man league or an 8-man league and then not worrying because everybody has studs. In 12-man, it's those 2 extra people getting those extra picks. It's just more fun with picking players up and looking at trading. And I feel like it's a true league there because you're looking at doing multiple things throughout the year. And the most dedicated, I feel like the most dedicated people from taking care of their team, point A to point B, is going to come out the champion. And that happened last year in one of my leagues, or in both of my leagues. So, yeah, just wanted to look at that. And I wanted to talk about how I'm going into a 12-man PPR draft. And what am I looking at, what rounds, what's the value there, so on and so forth. So let's start with specifically QBs. Look, you either need to draft a stud or wait. And here's my 2 studs in fantasy quarterbacks this year: Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Pulling a stat up from last year, Brady, Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Andrew Luck, and Dak Prescott. They're the only QBs in the top 12 70% of the time. So 70% of the time, those were the quarterbacks in the top 12. The value at quarterback, again, it's so, after Brady and Rodgers, it's not a large amount. You know, the margin, it just isn't there for points. So I think the big thing on quarterbacks is, look, is either you try to get Brady or Rodgers early or you wait. You can wait for those picks down the road that we're going to get into. But the top QBs for me is Brady and Rodgers, and then you wait after that. The big thing, too, is in PPR, obviously points per reception. So the value at running backs and wide receiver is crucial. This is what makes or breaks your league. And just looking, what I'll be doing is rounds 1 through 4, I'll be focusing on running backs and receivers. I want to make sure I get the meat of my team in the best positions possible early on. Because like I said, tight end's not significant behind Gronk, maybe Greg Olsen or Travis Kelce or Jordan Reed. But I mean, like I said, I'd rather wait and get value down the road in more significant positions like running back and receiver. So the first 4 rounds, I'm looking at running back and receiver. 5 through 7's me, it's the best available. Somebody dropped, whether running back, receiver, or a tight end or quarterback dropped too. But yeah, first 4 picks for me for sure, running back, wide receiver, and then 5 through 7 best available. If you're filling out your team there and you're still taking good picks, 8 or 9, you can definitely get a quarterback and a tight end there. So you can mix that up and add in rounds 8 or 9 a quarterback and a tight end. And then 11 through 13, you're just looking to fill out your skill position. So anywhere from quarterback to wide receiver to running back to tight end. That's just basically the best value fit there. And then the last 2, 14 and 15, you're picking kickers and tight ends. So please don't be the guy that goes and gets the Broncos defense in the 8th round or go get Gostowski in the 12th round. The kicker and the defense is so meaningless. There's not enough margin in between. When you look, there might be 1 or 2 that were just better than the other last year, but when you break it down from that middle of the pack, there's not that much of a difference. So the big thing is 1 through 4 running backs, receivers, 5 through 7 skill positions, 8 and 9 that range quarterbacks and tight ends, 11 through 13 filling out your team with skills positions, and then kicker and defense the last 2 picks. So that's kind of how I'm going to be taking drafts this year. My draft's coming up. I wanted to pass along that to you. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So if you're in a league with me, there you go. That's what I'm doing. Like I said, this podcast hasn't really helped my strategy last year. Yeah, let's jump into players to avoid, because I want to finish on sleepers and super sleepers. But for me, players to avoid this year, Sammy Watkins. A big thing with Sammy Watkins is he has Jared Goff throwing to him, which that's never a good sign. You know, I still feel like he's being developed a lot, so to speak, in LA. And I just think they haven't had a quarterback's guru in there since Fisher. You know, Fisher's not a QB guy. He focuses on defense and he just kind of says screw the offense. So I just think Goff is a work in progress. But I also think Cooper Kupp I think he's a security blanket for Goff. So I think the big thing too is Sammy's not going to, you know, he's not the security blanket option. You know, that's big in PPR. He's just going to be hit or miss for me. And so I think that's just a player to avoid. Another one is Eddie Lacy. The big thing is he's getting drafted before Thomas Rawls, and I still believe Thomas Rawls is going to be the lead back out there too. Procise is dealing with a groin injury now. Now, Thomas Rawls is having an ankle injury, and it seems he can't stay healthy. But I still feel like come week 1, week 2, getting into the season, that Thomas Rawls is going to be the back there. And Eddie Lacy just hasn't done anything for me to believe that he should be the starting running back. So the next one going on is Brandon Marshall. Look, Eli Manning is having Sterling Shepard to throw to. He's having his 2 or 3 running backs, his tight ends. He's got Odell Beckham as well too. And I think the big thing is Brandon Marshall's always been good in the red zone. But if I'm in the red zone and I got one-on-one between Brandon Marshall and Odell Beckham, I mean, to me, I'm going Odell all day, every day. You know, he's, if not the best wide receiver, one of the top 5 best players in the league. And that's my instinct. That's what I'm doing. And so I just don't believe that there's enough wealth to spread for where he's getting drafted. ESPN leagues, Brandon Marshall's getting drafted around anywhere from the 5th to the 7th round. To me, I can find better value elsewhere. Like I said, I still think, you know, he could have a decent year, but just where he's getting picked, especially with all the talent around him, just Brandon Marshall's a miss for me this year. So that's my third one. And then my last one, it's more of a general, Colts wide receivers. Look, like I already said, Ryan Kelly's down for a significant amount of time, and he's a second-year guy out of Alabama, and he was the best offensive lineman. Their offensive line has been atrocious. That's why Andrew Luck has not been healthy. I feel like that offensive line and Jim Irsay and the team, like, they really don't care about Andrew Luck's career because they're just not focusing on keeping him safe. I think the big thing is, that we've talked about this last year, is the Cowboys did it the right way. They started with their foundation of their offensive line. Now, they've obviously loaded up on offense and trying to play catch up on the defense, but the bread and butter for them was the offensive line. The Browns are doing the right thing too. Really good offensive line with Joe Thomas, and I'll get into that later. But just for me, Colts position players in general, specifically Dante Moncrief, he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and Tolzien might be throwing him the ball, but just for me, I'm avoiding Colts wide receivers, and that definitely keeps Frank Gore in the iffy category for me. So I could see if you get him late, where he can still be that good value because he's definitely beating father time. But for me, I'm just not looking at Colts position players. So for that, we'll go to sleepers. Well, I turn my piece of paper over. And for me, I'm starting out with Marcus Mariota. I still think he's going to be a top player. Last year, without the broken leg, he would have been a top 10 player. I think he's going to come back better than ever, just given with technology and how the amazing things we can do coming back from injuries now. But I think he's going to be a sleeper, and he's going to be better than what he's being drafted at right now. It's around that 115 mark. So when you add that up, 10th or 12th round, so I think he's going to be better than that. I think he could be a top 10, if not top 7 or 8. A little bold, but like I said, I believe they added Corey Davis, and they also added Eric Decker too. So more pieces for him to play with, especially with DeMarco in the backfield and a pretty good offensive line. So with that being said, I'd watch Mariota this year. Another one's Rex Burkhead. Obviously with Julian Edelman going down, they still have quite a bit of pieces to work with, whether Danny Amendola or Gronk. But I see Rex Burkhead as being a filler for Edelman, as well as fulfilling the LeGarrette Blount role. So I think he's going to get touches there, as well as PPR of the backfield. Now I think they're going to line him up all over the field. So a sleeper for me is Rex Burkhead. He is being drafted 128. So that's late rounds. So I think you get value there with Rex Burkhead. Another one for me is Kenny Britt. I think he is going to have a good year in Cleveland. And the reason why is he got 111 targets from Jared Goff and Case Keenum in LA. Case Keenum's my boy. Love you, Case, but he's just not an NFL quarterback. He was working with pawns and with queens and kings in chess games. So the big thing for me is he's going to have a better quarterback throwing to him. They have a good offensive line to get the ball out. And Terrell Pryor had 140 targets in Cleveland last year. So I think Kenny Britt's going to have a 1,000-yard year. I think that's a sleeper that you can definitely get. And then my last sleeper for running back is Carlos Hyde. And I'm going to call this a Malcolm Gordon effect because 2 years ago, I was on the table saying Malcolm Gordon, his rookie year, is going to be a stud year. I had to eat crow on that one. And then, of course, then last year, his second year, he broke out. So the Melvin Gordon effect for me is just 1 year projection early. And I did this last year with Carlos Hyde. I think Carlos Hyde has the opportunity to be a top 10, top 15 running back. He has the talent. He's an Ohio State product. They've been putting out good running backs. You know that with Zeke. But I think just how atrocious San Francisco was last year. Look, he's going to have Kyle Shanahan. He's got his starting role. I just think he's going to be somebody to look for and build off last year. He had flashes of it. It just wasn't all there yet. Melvin Gordon didn't have a flash his freshman year coming into the league. So I think Carlos Hyde is definitely a sleeper this year and somebody you can look at picking up in the later rounds. Now I want to go super sleepers. For me, the first one is Jameis Winston. It's kind of just a sleeper with Marcus Mariota. But look, they added Deshaun Jackson. They added another piece in O.J. Howard, which I think he's going to be more of a pass blocker the first year, but that's just another piece to work with. So Jameis has options there, and I think this is a year he excels too. He's getting picked around 115, so I think he can get better value than that. My second one is super sleeper, DeAndre Washington. So Marshawn Lynch, Money Lynch, he is in Oakland now, but if you remember he was dealing with a lot of injuries, and he's been a big bruiser, and you know when you get up there in age as a running back. Like I said, Frank Gore's been able to define his career still and still just be churning away, but I can't be for certain with Marshawn Lynch. So for me, DeAndre Washington is a nice handcuff, so to speak, if you are taking that risk on Lynch, because I still think DeAndre Washington, coming out of Tech, being a local homegrown, we know he can catch the ball at the backfield, and he was running all over the field for us, and he was the first, I think, 1,000-yard rusher Tech had in a long time. So I think he's definitely a good pickup, super sleeper down the road if somebody just either stashing on your bench or just seeing how that folds out, because Lynch has been out of the league for a year. My next super sleeper is wide receiver Adam Thielen. He is a receiver for the Vikings. He's quick, he's shifty, but I think Stephon Diggs is going to get a lot of the attention on the defense side. I think with Dalvin Cook in the back, he's going to get a lot of attention too. So I think Thielen's just going to be that security blanket for him, moving the chains, and they're just going to build on that chemistry from last year. So like I said, Thielen is getting picked around 85. So when you add that up, you know, that's middle of the rounds. I think you can find good value there if he drops anywhere in the 9-10 range. So, and then my last one, like I said, Cameron Brate, tight end, Tampa Bay. I think Jameis Winston and him built a lot of chemistry last year, but I also think O.J. Howard, with his athleticism and his big bodiness, being from Alabama, you know, they ran the ball a lot last year, and he was a really, really athletic blocking back. So I think this year they're going to focus more on him blocking. That's been the rumors out of Tampa Bay. So I think they're going to focus more on him on blocking, and I think Cameron Brate, with that chemistry he had, could be definitely a late steal with Jameis Winston and Cameron Brate with that efficiency. So wanted to add that in. We've talked a little bit about the preseason. We've talked about sleepers, super sleepers, people to watch out for. And like I said, what I want to do is I want to keep these short and sweet. This one's obviously going to be a little bit longer since we had quite a few things to talk about. Yeah, I wanted to get in here, and like I said, I'm going to do my ranks on the website under the Sweep Up the Middle podcast tab. So go to mitchellryan21.com/SUTM, and it will pull up right there. And I'll add a link in as well with everything. So anything else you need from me, please let me know. Comments, questions, shoot out to the SUTM podcast on Twitter or Facebook, or like I said, reach out to the website. So this is Mitchell Ryan 21 checking out for the day. Y'all have a good one.